you. Afternoon, everybody. We all well? Yeah. Perfect. I am known as the telephone assassin, but don't worry, it's not as aggressive as it sounds. Okay, hence all the pink branding, apparently. Apparently it softens the aggression in the word assassin. Sounds like an afterthought from a designer, doesn't it? Maybe. Anyway, I typically get classed as either a sales trainer or expert or a customer service trainer. I tend to put myself in the latter category simply because I don't really teach people how to sell. I simply show them how to help their customers to buy, which some people think is a slimy way of twisting words because I'm in sales. I promise you that is definitely not the case. When my friends ask me what I do, they think the telephone assassin sounds quite cool. And I play it down, obviously. I tend to say that I teach people really good manners and advanced common sense. If I don't say advanced, people get offended. But literally, you've got to be polite enough that people want to talk to you, but you need to understand the emotional journey you have to take somebody through before you can realistically get them to do something as a result of talking to you. Do you agree? Perfect. Okay. Just so that you know, my guess is you probably know most of the stuff I'm going to talk about, so I'm not here to tell you that you're doing anything wrong. Okay. About 90% of this stuff, my guess is you probably do already. Okay. Well, you probably at least know about, and about 75%, I reckon you're already implementing. So you should feel quite reassured by the end of this session that you're doing a lot of the right stuff, but I'm hoping that there's a few little gems in here as well. So when you wrote your lists earlier on for the drained list and the energised, who put making calls in their drained list? A few of you? Cold calls? Anybody enjoy doing that? No. No, absolutely. Business development here at the front. We pick up the phone, don't we? Love it, I like it. In which case, normally when I get up on stage, I get to share what I refer to as my 5 conversation steers. I am dyslexic, but that's how I spell my surname, so deal with it, any copywriters who are in the room. And typically, it's 5 sort of steps, I suppose. There's 2 golden rules that happen at the beginning and the end of every conversation, and then the 3 bits in the middle are the 3 phases of the conversation. Okay. Unfortunately, I haven't got a huge amount of time with you guys today, so I'm going to give you the golden rules. I think that happen at the beginning and happen at the end, but I will quickly tell you what the 3 other mini steps in the middle are as well, if you want me to. So I'm going to start off with, obviously, you know what I mean by pipeline constipation? Yeah? People aren't that keen on this picture, unfortunately, so I'll move on. It's usually when you've sent that lovely proposal, you have a really good conversation with somebody. Yeah, they ask you to send them lots of information, have lots of questions or a proposal, and then 2, 3, 4 weeks later, they haven't returned your call or your email. Feels like they've fallen off the face of the earth. I'm getting lots of nods here. Yes, okay, you know what I mean. Perfect. In which case, then, I'm going to explain these 2 golden rules. In fact, let me give you the quick structure first of all, and then I'll share the rules that will hopefully make the biggest amount of difference. The first thing that you have to do is called PTS, which I'm going to go into more detail through shortly. That's one of these golden rules. Then you have the 3 phases of the conversation. The first phase is all about building rapport. You want them to like you enough to keep listening. Okay, the middle part of the conversation is around establishing your credibility. Okay, so this is using case studies. And then the 3rd phase of the conversation is creating urgency and an easy next step, or what you guys would call a call to action. Right, you knew this already though, right? Can you all nod confidently going, yeah, we knew that? Yeah, I like it. In which case, I'm going to start with these golden rules at the beginning and the end. So you probably do this already. The first one is something that I call PTS. It stands for permission to speak. So my guess is you guys probably do this already. If you were going to reach out to somebody, so it probably isn't going to be in a cold call, but if you're reaching out to somebody, even if it was a follow-up, would you guys get permission to speak at the beginning of the call? Would you say, is now a good time? You've got a few minutes? Yes? Anybody got a script and they just launch straight into a script? Anybody ever received a cold call from somebody who you could tell is reading a script? Yeah? Did you like it? You all laugh there when yeah. Did you like it? Oh, it's not very nice, is it? I get them as well, and it makes me laugh because I hear the intake of breath at the beginning of the call where they go, hello there, this is my name and this is my company, and I'm going to speak really quickly so you can't interrupt me, and I'm going to hit you with a feature followed by a benefit in the hope that if you haven't hung up by the time I finish speaking, there's a really small chance that you might say yes. Heard that before? Yeah? This is known as premature elaboration. It's a either overexcited or usually very desperate salesperson who can't hold on to their pitch. and they just blurt their pitch over anybody who answers. Okay, we don't do that in here, do we? None of that. Okay, perfect. So the way you guys get permission to speak, can you shout out what would you say at the beginning of these calls? Oh, that's my theme tune, by the way, Assassin. I always get sirens in the background. What sort of things do you say? I was getting some nods there. What do you say at the beginning of a call? Thanks for taking the call. Perfect. Anything else? Would you ask if is now a good time? Something? Have you got 5 minutes? Something along those lines. Right. If what you're doing is working, keep doing it. Okay? I do not want you to change what you're doing based on what I say. Particularly, I think you heard the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay? You'll know if your permission to speak isn't working properly because within 30 to 90 seconds, anybody get asked within that first thing, could you just send me an email? You get that? Could you just send me an email? Yeah, you probably didn't do your permission to speak properly. Okay? When I do my permission to speak, okay, so I'm phoning somebody up, I wrap it in excellent manners. Okay? As far as I'm concerned, it's all about good customer service. When I phone somebody, if I was phoning Robert, I would be saying, oh, good afternoon, Robert. My name is Anthony Stears. I was just hoping to chat to you for a couple of minutes, but I'm guessing I probably caught you at a bad time. Is there a better time to call you back? Okay? Do you notice what I did there? You see how easy I made it for him to get out of this call? There's some reverse psychology at play there where he thinks, I've made it so easy to get out of this call. First thing he thinks is, he can't possibly be in sales. Because salespeople don't do that, do they? Yeah? And then the second thought is, well, if he is in sales, oh, bless him, he's not very good, is he? Right? So what most people will tend to do is they kind of go, well, I am a busy person and there's never really a good time to catch me, but go on then, what's the call about? Okay? And that's the beauty of it. You want to create intrigue into why you have called. Did anybody notice that I gave my full name, but I didn't mention my company? Yeah? If I was doing cold outreach, that's the way I would play it. If you say this is my name and this is my company, you may as well follow it up with, and this is a cold call. Okay? So try not to tell them straight. Obviously, if it's an inquiry, it's an inbound thing, or they know who you are or expecting your call, do make sure that you mention where you're phoning from. Okay? So it's really easy. Good morning, good afternoon, then their first name, unless they are a doctor or a professor. Okay? Don't drop that title. They have studied for it. They don't like it. Okay? But typically, it's a good morning or good afternoon, say their first name, introduce myself with my full name, tell them I only want 2 minutes, and find out if there's a better time to call them back. Easy. Okay? Now, I do need to be honest with you. Technically, I'm a conversational strategist, so I try and help people with this stuff, but I do need you to find your own words and your own version of doing these techniques. Okay? So I'm just going to tell you a really quick story about a big company I work with up in town here. It's a bit of a boiler room setup. It's a kind of financial services type business. There's 80 of them on the floor. They've got pods and what have you. And there is one guy who worked for them that was called Mitchell. Okay, and he's from East London. He only wears Hugo Boss. He refers to himself as the Big M. I know, but because he's from East London, he tells me I'm posh, okay, basically. Tiffany laughing, we're posh apparently, and he did my permission to speak. He wrote it down, did the permission to speak on a client, and he did it to his client, and his client went, "What's happened to you?" And the guy went, "I'm doing some training today," and he went, "I don't think it's working." Right? And he came back to me and he went, "Your permission to speak doesn't work." I went, "Really?" He went, "Yeah, I said it word for word." And I went, "Yeah, but you said I sound posh. So I think you need to find your own words and your own version of this." So he went, "Okay, yeah, I can do that. What do I say?" Typical bloke wants to be told exactly what to do. I said, "Well, you've got to figure this out." Okay, so he went down. They're all very healthy people. They went outside for some fresh air. Okay, and they had double doors like those ones coming back into their office. And I clocked him through the glass, coming with swagger towards the door. And then he kicked the door open with a big grin on his face. And he went, "Okay, Mr. Assassin, I've got it. Let's do it on loudspeaker. Let's everybody listen." And my heart sunk. You know, you're like, uh-oh. And he went, "I've improved your technique, Ant." I went, "Okay." He went, "Yeah, I can do it in 6 words." I went, uh-oh. Go on then. So he dialed. It rang, and my heart was pumping at this point. 6 words is how he does his permission to speak. He literally goes, "Hello, fella, good time, bad time." Yeah. And his client just went, "Not a great time, what do you want?" And he was like, "I'm after a testimonial." He went, "All right, send me an email and I'll respond to it." Okay? But that's what I try and, the reason I tell people that is you don't have to use my exact wording, but the whole essence of not assuming that that they're ready to talk to you. You know that when you phone somebody, if it's not scheduled, you're practically ambushing them, right? Okay, so this is where the permission to speak, I think, comes in and makes a big difference. Everybody that I do training with tells me that once they get this permission to speak thing done properly, they start to become far more confident in their conversations because people have given you permission to speak, okay? They are now intrigued as to why you have called, okay? So they find that they're less rushed. They're not just blurting out a pitch down the phone. So there's your first golden rule. It's PTS, or permission to speak. If you do that at the beginning of your calls, you shouldn't have any bad calls, and you shouldn't end up, it's probably not music to your ears, but you shouldn't end up sending quite as many emails. Okay? And certainly not being deflected off and saying, "Yeah, could you just send an email?" And you go, "Oh yeah, go on then." And they go, "It's info at..." And your heart just sinks, right? It's terrible when that kind of thing happens. So that's the first thing at the beginning of the call. Get permission to speak. You shouldn't have any bad conversations. Okay? Then you've got those 3 phases that I talked about. Remember those? You've got to build a rapport with somebody. You've got to establish your credibility. You've got to create some urgency. And then the final step is another golden rule. It's called TFR. Okay? Stands for take final responsibility. Basically, I believe it is your responsibility to take final responsibility for the next time you're going to speak to somebody. Okay? Don't just worry about the next action of, "Oh yes, I'll email that over to you this afternoon." You have to tee up your conversation so that you are making sure that you prevent as much as possible that pipeline constipation. So I'm going to give you a few different examples of how you could use this. If I was doing cold outreach, so anybody doing colder stuff? Guessing you don't really. I've got a few hands going up now. Okay, yeah. So for the colder stuff, I often say that when I'm reaching out to somebody for the first time, I try and make it feel like I'm dropping off a pizza menu. Okay, you all get takeaway menus put through your door, right? Yes? I know they're trying to get us to use the app. Any of you ever had them come and knock on your door when they're dropping them off? Could you imagine that? "Hiya, Domino's, can I take your order?" No? That would be rude, right? If that happened all the time. So normally, when I'm doing my first call, all I really want to do is drop off my pizza menu. And what I mean by a pizza menu, it's not a list of services and prices. It is a mini case study. Okay, I mentioned about establishing your credibility. Doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or a landscaper, it works exactly the same. The best way to perfect your pitch is to share a success story somebody can relate to. Okay, so drop off mini case studies that they can relate to. Please don't do what I would refer to as name dropping. You know, you mentioned just your biggest client. Anybody guilty of that? Or you put it in your brochure? Yeah? I learned the hard way. I've been speaking for over 10 years now, and I've done some really cool stuff with some really big companies, but the majority of the time when I come and speak at events, they are small, medium-sized businesses, okay? There is no point in me coming out on stage going, "Hey everybody, I'm the telephone assassin." Yeah, I've worked with Microsoft, Lathwaites, BT, GSK. I can mention big brands you should have heard of, but what most people then tend to do is they're impressed for about half a second, and then they're intimidated because they then go, "Well, I'm not as big as that, and my team's not that big, or we haven't got that much of a budget. You're probably not interested in working with us." So share success stories people can relate to. So when I do this on a first call, I'd often say to somebody, this is what I do, but I'm guessing you're not looking right now. Okay? Because what people will then do is they'll confirm usually that they're not looking, and then they'll justify it. So for me, when I offer training, they go, "Yeah, right, we're not looking at training right now because we've got a program that runs till the end of the year, or we haven't got any budget until this particular point." Okay? And all I'll say to them is, well, all I wanted to do at this stage was drop off a couple of mini case studies of other people in your industry, just so you can see what our clients say about us. Okay? And then if you think it's worth having a coffee, I'd love to set up a chat and we can have a proper meeting. Okay, so the way I would do my TFR on a cold call is I would say to them, "Well, look, I'll email you a couple of case studies this afternoon. And because they've just confirmed there's no imminent need, I'd probably say something like, "And can I just ask, do you think you'll get a chance to look at it over the next week or two?" Okay, it's a reasonable time frame, would you agree? Some people say a week, some people say a few days. I always say a week or two, particularly if they've just confirmed there's no imminent need. Okay? In over 85% of responses to that question, people will just go, oh yeah, I'm sure I will. They'll just agree with that statement. You do get some variations. Some people will go, well, actually, we've got a training meeting or we've got a sales meeting on Friday. We'll talk about it then. Yeah? And you'll get other people who go, well, I'm just about to go to Turkey for 2 weeks. I'm not going to get a chance to look at it for a month. But the majority of people will just agree with the statement that they'll get a chance to look at it in the next 2 weeks. So I just say, fantastic. Well, in which case, I'll email it over. If you've got any questions or think it's worth having a coffee, don't hesitate to come back to me, okay? But then I say to them, but just so I don't forget about you, if I haven't heard from you in the next 2 weeks, I'm probably going to give you a courtesy call just to double check, one, it got through your spam filter, and two, to find out what kind of test drive you might find useful. And I plant the idea of a test drive, which has this universal understanding of try before you buy, and this is what you might consider some of your lead magnets to be. These are opportunities for you to give value to clients and for them to try you out and try before they buy. Okay? So if I'm going to drop off my pizza menu, I want to tee up in at least 2 weeks' time for me to phone them again if I haven't got through, because there's a chance that it got stuck in their spam filter or they haven't read it yet. Okay? So that's the first way that I would apply it. Who sends out quotes and proposals? Brilliant, fantastic. Can you put your hand... So when you're sending these proposals out, quite often you'll be talking to people and you'll be sort of scoping the opportunities, is this right? Yes? At the end of those conversations, how do you normally leave it? Who would say something like, let me know if you've got any questions? Yeah? Keep your hand up, keep your hand up. What about, let's catch up in a week or two? Yeah, keep your hands up, please, hands up. Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, come back to me. Yeah. If you've got your hand up, do me a favour. Can you just put it behind you and move it forwards as quick as you can? Every time you do it, I want you to smack yourself on the back of the head. You are literally creating pipeline constipation, all right? Whenever I send a proposal, I will not let you off of the phone and actually send you the thing that you've asked for unless I've booked in a review call. So what I might often do here is say to them, no worries, well, it's going to take me the afternoon to pull all of this stuff together, but I'll email it to you by the end of the day. And then I say, but realistically, and I really emphasize, realistically, when do you think you're going to get a chance to look at it by? Okay? So what I do is I let them set the time frame. One of the most common answers is usually by the end of the week. So if somebody says to you, oh yeah, I'll get a chance to look at it by the end of the week, I go, fantastic. In which case, any immediate questions or concerns, don't hesitate to come back to me, okay? But just in case you have a busy week and you don't get a chance to go through it, could we just book in a 15-minute review call on Friday? Because I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anything that I sent over, that there's any final questions or concerns, and then the line that I use is, I just want to make sure by the end of that conversation you have all the information you need to make a decision of whether you think we're a good fit. Okay, so this can work really well. Who's ever spoken to somebody who told you, yeah, I'm the decision maker? Yeah? And at the end of the call, they go, yeah, I've just got to run this past my boss. You get that? Brilliant. This is a great way to kind of get multiple influencers or decision makers onto one call. Okay? But I would not send out a proposal if I didn't have a phone call booked in to review what it is I've sent them. Okay, and if people refuse to do that, then they get sent a very bland or off-the-shelf kind of proposal and one of my training overviews. Okay, so yeah, if people don't want to book in a follow-up call, then you probably get that feeling that you're being used as a pricing exercise. Ever get that as agencies? They've got to go and get 3 prices, and you can tell that they've kind of made their decision. They just need a couple more bits of paper so that somebody else will sign it off. Yeah? So there you go. That's how I would do it on the proposal stage. How do you feel about voicemails, everybody? Who leaves voicemails for people? A few hands going up. Yeah? My rule on voicemails is I only leave voicemails for people who either know who I am or are expecting my call. Okay? Otherwise, a bit like sending emails, if they don't know you, after your first email or your first voicemail, if you leave another one, people will start to form a negative association with either your name or your brand. And once they realise they didn't respond to your last 2 emails or the last voicemail, they'll go, oh yeah, no, I don't think I want to talk to him. So when you do phone, you can actually shoot yourself in the foot by sending too many messages to people beforehand. However, don't get me wrong, you can warm people up by sending them LinkedIn messages or connecting with them on LinkedIn first. And I would do a TFR on a LinkedIn invitation. Hey Robert, I've noticed one of your blogs on your LinkedIn profile. Just wanted to thank you for writing it. I also noticed you're connected with quite a few of my clients, so I figured it might be worth us connecting and having a chat. Let me know if there's a good day to catch you next week and I'll give you a call. And regardless of whether they respond, I'm going to phone them. But when it comes to voicemails, who, if you're following somebody up, do you leave voicemails? Yeah? If you're going to leave a voicemail, just do a TFR at the end of it. Right? Hey Rob, Anthony here. Sorry I missed your call earlier on. Give us a buzz back when you get a chance, but don't worry, I've made a note for 5 o'clock at the end of the day to give you another call then. Okay? If I get an inquiry from somebody, obviously they know who I am. And I love it because people inquire through my website asking for prices, and I have prices on my website. So I just know that they just go, oh, you've been recommended. I'd just like to get some information and some prices on training. So I phone them up, obviously. And some of them are surprised, which makes me laugh. But I phone them up and I'll go, and usually it's a voicemail. Hi there, hey Rob, it's Anthony Stears here, the telephone assassin chap. Thank you ever so much for your inquiry through my website. More than happy to send you some information and some prices, but I do need to understand a bit more about your team and what it is you're trying to achieve. So could you please give me a call back on this number? And I leave my mobile, okay? I said, but don't worry, I've made a quick note to give you a call tomorrow afternoon if I haven't heard from you. That's my first voicemail. Okay? Second voicemail. Would you leave a second voicemail? Getting some no's now. Okay. Second voicemail. Hey Rob, it's Anthony Stears here. You inquired through my website a couple of days ago. I don't know if you got my voicemail yesterday, but I would love to have a quick chat so I can send you the things that you've asked for. I'll buzz you a quick email now as well in case it's easier to set up a call that way. But don't worry, I've made a note for Friday to give you another call then if I haven't heard from you. Yeah? I'm guessing nobody would get to voicemail number 3? No? Voicemail number 3. Hey Rob, it's Anthony Stears here. In fact, I would say Robert, not Rob. Robert, it's Anthony Stears here, the telephone assassin chap. I have left you a couple of voicemails. I don't know if they're coming through or not. I've just sent you a LinkedIn invite as well. Please do give me a call back so I can send you some information across. Here's my number once again. But don't worry, I've made a note for middle of next week to give you another try if I haven't heard from you. Okay? So can I just check nobody would get to voicemail number 3? 4? No? Let me skip to voicemail number 8. People often say, when do you give up following people up? And I say, when you don't want their money anymore. Yeah, or if you've got enough hot leads coming in and you don't need to, that's absolutely fine. But I'm going to fast forward to voicemail number 8, which I know many of you wouldn't have got to, but I just want to try and make the point here. Hello, Robert. This is Anthony Stears here, the telephone assassin chap. You inquired through my website nearly 2 months ago now, asking about training. I have left you multiple voicemails. I've sent you 2 LinkedIn messages and a couple of emails as well, and I haven't heard back from you. So I don't know if these are coming through, but I'm guessing you're probably not looking for training anymore, or you found a trainer and you're moving forwards. If that is the case, please do you mind coming back to me to let me know so I can take you off my list? But don't worry, I've made a note for 2 weeks' time if I haven't heard from you, so I'll speak to you then anyway. Okay, follow the 3 Ps. Be polite, persistent, and patient. Okay, and you can't really go too far wrong. What you end up doing is when you do a TFR at the end of a voicemail, you guilt somebody into wanting to call you back or returning one of your messages because they know that you're not going to give up, you're going to keep phoning. And as far as I'm concerned, I told you when I was going to phone back, so if you have no right to be cross with me when I call you at 4 o'clock on a Friday because I told you I was going to do that. So quite often I work with lots of companies who work with agencies, are LinkedIn lead generators, or they do paid for ads on Facebook. And what I end up doing is you set up your funnels, you set up these buckets, not funnels. Basically, you want all of these sort of leads kind of coming in, right? So a lot of people aren't now having to do cold calls. It's more about converting the inbound inquiries. Yes? And can I just double check, is there some useful stuff in here? Are we feeling like we're kind of, many of you are nodding, going, yeah, I know this, I do this. We agree, we're liking it. Like I say, when it comes to voicemails, people often, I think, give up too soon. They say that people will require 5 follow-ups after a first meeting to know that you want the business enough. Just an idea. Now, when you set up all of these funnels, this is brilliant, and quite a lot of you will be setting up things that will convert all by themselves. They need no human interaction. Is that right? Some sales will just come in, e-commerce, boom, sales done, ding, ding, little bell goes off. Yes? I work with companies who do this, but they're getting this pipeline constipation happening where people are getting stuck. And that's usually because the automation isn't necessarily winning people over, or there's a question or a concern that they still have. So this is where humans need to get involved, and you need to reach out to people and say, hey, we've been trying to reach you, or you downloaded our ebook or a brochure or a how-to guide. We just want to know, did you find it useful? What bits are you using? Any other challenges you've got? Okay? But you do need to take final responsibility in every conversation that you have. Okay? Doesn't matter if it's with a colleague. If you're working with your staff and you need them to do more, you do a TFR after you. It's basically setting accountability for your staff. Okay? You can use this with suppliers. You can put this on LinkedIn messages at the end of emails. Do a TFR, and I promise you it will limit and prevent pipeline constipation as much as possible. So, feeling quite reassured? Yes? Anybody panicking? No? Brilliant. Has anybody got a gem? Something that you kind of gone, oh, I'm thinking a bit differently about that? A few little gems are getting some nods, yeah? Do you mind sharing what your gem is?
Yeah, I just one, I don't ever take a phone call.
You don't take phone calls?
Ever.
No?
I even from my wife.
Yeah?
So I need an appointment to speak to most of my prospects and clients. And
Okay.
to do it on Teams.
Yeah.
So it's a very visual thing. How does this translate onto a Teams call? Is it the same?
Works exactly the same way. You know that permission to speak thing I was telling you about? If it's a pre-scheduled meeting or an appointment, the PTS stands for pre-frame, the time and the schedule. So if you're meeting online or it's organised or it's a group of people, I always start off by going, fantastic, thanks ever so much for jumping online with me this morning. I blocked out 45 minutes. Can I just check how are you for time today? Because if they then tell me they've only got 30 minutes, I'll probably keep the small talk to a minimum rather than thinking I'm building rapport, and at 28 minutes they're looking at their watch and all of a sudden the boss has to disappear off. So in those environments, I do that at the very beginning, but again, you just do a TFR in exactly the same way as you would. Again, it doesn't matter if you're on the phone, face-to-face, on Zoom, this stuff all works exactly the same.
Great, thank you.
Like it?
Hi Anthony,
Yep. 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 Absolutely, yeah. If you don't want to be on this list, please let us know and we'll take you off, okay? I have a lot of people who may only leave 1 or 2 voicemails, and the second voicemail will say, hey there, been trying to reach you. I've left you a message yesterday and I have sent you an email. I don't want to feel like I'm pestering you, so I'm going to add you to our email newsletter where we've got loads of tips. If you do still want to chat, all of our contact details are on there. So you can actually do a TFR that leads to an automated process that will nudge them or keep them in your system. Okay, but I love that, sending them the message to say, hey, we've tried to reach you. If you don't want us to do it again, let us know. Yeah, I think that opting out, anybody else end up on mailing lists that they didn't think they signed up for? Yeah? Yeah? Anybody else getting bullied by Groupon? Not just me, okay, just checking. But yeah, like I say, the video side of things, it doesn't really change that differently, if I'm perfectly honest with you. And persistence is key. Like I say, the stats say that you need 5 follow-ups after a meeting in order to engage with somebody. And I always thought it was more because you need to get lucky with the timing to get through. But apparently the psychology behind it is that it shows you want the business. So yeah, a lot of people don't follow up because they're worried about effing it up, I believe. But if you like forecasting and having an accurate pipeline, okay, the TFR thing will help you keep your pipeline as fresh as possible, yeah, that'll be the one that will make you the most money. So TFR is one of my best tips that people often tell me makes them the most at the end of it. Have we got any other questions? I'm conscious on time.
I'll go for one on referrals. What's your feeling about getting referrals?
Oh yes, we mentioned referrals earlier on. If you get a post-it note, it's my other golden rule. It's called thank you equals ask. And basically, whenever you hear the words thank you from a client, it's a verbal cue of gratitude. It is your moment to ask for something in return. So if somebody asked earlier on, how often or how frequently do you ask? Whenever somebody says thank you, that is your cue to ask for something in return. So usually the first thank you, I'll say, you're very welcome, Robert, it's all part of the service, but look, seeing as you seem so happy, I don't suppose you'd mind sharing a couple of lines of what I've been like to work with. So the first time they say thank you, I ask for feedback, because I want to create a testimonial so I can drop it off like a pizza menu, okay? The second time they say thank you, you're very welcome, Rob, it's all part of the service. But look, seeing as you seem so happy, you let me work with your sales team, could I come and work with your customer service team? Basically, ask for more opportunity. If they're liking what you've given them, offer them more, okay? And then from the third time onwards, whenever they say thank you, you're very welcome, it's all part of the service. But look, seeing as you seem so happy, I don't suppose you can think of just one person I should reach out to who might be interested in my services. Right? My nan always told me, if you don't ask, you don't get. So when it comes to referrals, it's a really good thing to be asking. And if you are worried about asking too frequently, just before you ask, tell them about your refer a friend scheme and how much value you're going to give them or a thank you that they're going to get off the back of it. So hopefully 3 post-it notes will sum up my entire presentation. You want one on the left-hand side of your screen like a little ear that says PTS. You want one on this side of your screen that says TFR, so beginning and the end of the conversation. And then in the middle, you want one more that just says thank you equals ask. And every time you hear it, if you ask for something in return, I promise it will help you to build your pipeline and get more business out of your existing clients. I think I've kind of hit my time here. Hopefully this stuff has been useful for you. Fingers crossed, if you start using this stuff, I would like to know what happens next or what happens when you implement it. If you would like to, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I have an ebook. We talked about lead magnets earlier on. Ebook all around preventing pipeline constipation. I usually send people to my website, but audiences like to crash my website. So connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me the plunger emoji. Or just ebook, that's fine, and I will send you a free copy of my Preventing Pipeline Constipation book. There you go. If you do want to connect with me on LinkedIn, there's the QR code. And finally, if anybody's interested, if you've enjoyed this and you'd like some more, I do have about a dozen copies of my book with me, but they are on Amazon. You can find them on my website. But hopefully, this has made you a little bit more confident and a little bit less resistant to picking up the phone and using these techniques. Hopefully, you can make every call count. Thank you very much.